I don't know who has the clicker. There it is. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Arpen Amy Shadkamyan. I am the city's Emergency Services Administrator. We are all here together tonight because the state has updated the fire hazard severity zone, and I'm sure all of you have heard. And so city staff, along with our local state county partners, have been working to really understand what those updates are. And we've come together tonight to present to you the information that we have and what we know, and be able to answer as many questions as we can. A few things before we get started. I want to let the group up here introduce themselves to you. We have a lot of resources in the back table, so please help yourself. There are different types of flyers with good information. Alert Palmdale, we'll talk a little bit about that, or some information from LA County Fire. Also, Richard Lara, our insurance commissioner, has provided a Q&A letter for you, and we've provided that in the back. And also, I'm sure you have questions, but we ask that you hold questions until the end, and please fill out the form and then submit it over to the table on my left, and we will get to your question. So with that, yes. Form is in the back table also, yes. So to begin, I'm going to begin right here with Brenda, please.
Good evening, everyone. Brenda Magana, Planning Manager.
Good evening. My name is Brian George. I am the city's building official.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mario Vallarta. I'm the Public Safety Manager.
Good evening, everyone. Jason Gorbani, Assistant Fire Chief, LA County Fire Department.
Good evening, Lon Anderson, LA County Fire Brush Clearance Unit.
Good evening, Vincent Haudegui, Inspector 3, Agriculture Commissioner's Office, Weed Abatement Division.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mariela Garcia. I am also with County Ag with the Weed Abatement Division as well.
Yeah. You're up.
All right, I'm ready. All right, the floor is mine. Good evening, everyone. So as Amy said, we really want to try to shed some light. Since the maps came out, we all have been working in concert for quite some time now to try to make sense of everything. And so we're going to try to provide some clarity tonight. And again, please, if you have questions, fill out the card, because that is why we're here, to try to answer as many questions as possible. So thanks for being here this evening. So the maps, the local responsibility area, fire hazard severity zone maps, and this is the 2025 update. I think it's important that everyone understands before we get into the middle of this, these maps and the fire zones are not established by LA County Fire Department or the city of Palmdale. They come from the state, from the governor's office through the state fire marshal, and then the maps get distributed to LA County and the local cities. So a lot of the driving force behind this does not come from your local agencies or departments that are here serving you. They come from the state. And the maps this year came in a 4-phase rollout, and the phase basically just breaks up the state into 4 big chunks. LA County, because we're so vast and we cover so many square miles, we were the 4th out of the 4 phases, and the maps came to us in March of 25. Know that the maps as proposed have not officially been adopted yet. I cannot speculate, but we anticipate the fire department to adopt them. We'll know that answer by the end of July. And the city has until the middle of July as well to adopt the maps. And so we're still working through that as we go along. The state responsibility area, there is SRA land that resides all over the Antelope Valley and in Palmdale. And we are what's called a contract county. LA County Fire Department contracts with CAL FIRE to protect state lands that are in Palmdale and outlying areas. We refer to that as SRA land, state responsibility. The severity zone was completed in 2024, given to us in 25. The recommended LRA, or local responsibility area, which is like Palmdale proper, all of the areas that LA County Fire protects for you, they were expanded to include high and moderate. Now, previous to this year's maps, and for about the last 5 years, LA County, when we looked at LRA, we would always look at the very high. We didn't look at the high or the moderate, we looked at the very high. These maps now, if adopted as proposed, are going to require us to look not only at the very high, but also the high and the moderate. And we'll talk to that as we move along. The way they establish the zones, there's a 2-kilometer grid of climate data that they use from 2003 to 2018 to cover this update. The updated model that we're discussing tonight adjusts based on the fire intensity scores on most extreme fire weather at a given location. So in that, they're looking at the fuels that reside here in the Antelope Valley, the weather conditions, right? We know it's either always hot and windy or cold and windy. So wind is a factor on top of our fuel bed and fuel arrangements. And then the heat. We have a metric within the fire department where we start to understand fire behavior. We call it the BI, and it's based on a lot of the same things that the state uses to establish these zones. Ember transport is being modeled based on local distribution of observed wind. That's an important concept to understand. I don't think we really spoke very well about ember transport as the fire department until we experienced Franklin Fire Malibu last December, and then most notably Palisades and the Eaton fires in January. And we know on the news you saw a lot about ember transport and ember cast. Just so you know, the fire department, as long as I've been around 30-plus years fighting wildland fires, ember cast is always a concern. We just haven't had to fight it in 100-mile-an-hour winds with multiple structures going at once. The thing about ember cast is they find receptive fuel beds and they start new fires. Some can spot out as far as a mile ahead from ember transport getting into the convective column and going downrange. Well, imagine a pile of embers that appear very small individually, but that are able to collect in a corner, in a yard, in brush, or in yard furniture or ornamentals, and sit there and cook, and that's how we get multiple fire starts in a footprint. And those are the kinds of things the state's looking at when they talk about ember transport. Local cities, this goes back to my point about LA County Fire and City of Palmdale did not establish the map. Palmdale has the right to add more to the zones if they wish, but they cannot remove. That came from the state fire marshal. We don't have the option to remove any of the zones from the map. I think that's important to remember as well. Any additions to the very high fire hazard severity zone requires the city to do a lot of work to add to it, but under no circumstance can they take away. And that's what the third bullet says. I get a little ahead of myself sometimes, so I apologize, but the third bullet says the same thing. Local agency cannot remove or decrease the zones. A lot of words on this. I'm not going to read it to you, and I don't want to put you to sleep. What I'm going to tell you is what the state is saying here is that they don't base it on risk. Risk is too vague a term, too broad, but they base it on a hazard. And the way they define hazard is it's based upon physical conditions that will create a likelihood and expected fire behavior. And for us in the fire department, when we see expected fire behavior, a lot of metrics we can go to right away. Fuel, terrain, weather. Over a 30 to 50-year burn period, we keep historical maps of fires forever. We know areas that have burned 10 years ago, 20 years ago, some last year. They don't consider mitigation measures such as home hardening, recent wildfire, or fuel reduction because they want to understand the full potential hazard. And so that's an important concept to remember as you go through and get onto the state's website and start to make sense of the zones. I'm going to skip past this one because I have a couple of key things highlighted on the next slide. And what I want to be able to relay to y'all is what does this really mean for us here in Palmdale? So for the fire department, if I told you you live on LRA land, for the last 5 years, we would not come inspect your home unless it was in the very high. The map is now going to say, if adopted as proposed, that now the fire department has to go out and inspect moderate, high, and very high. So what that means for you, the public I serve, is if you live in a moderate zone and you've never seen us on your property doing an inspection, you're going to see us in the year 26 if the maps are adopted as proposed. And we're going to talk about what that inspection looks like, okay? And it's all, again, based on the zones as established by the state. And so what that means for Palmdale, in the very high, we're going to have basically 6,000 properties added to our workload of inspections. For the high zone, 2,900, give or take, rounding up. And for the moderate zone, about 3,000 home inspections we'll do. Currently in Santa Clarita, how many do we do, Lon?
I don't have it.
15,000?
Yeah.
Over in the Santa Clarita side, because you know how they put homes in the middle and they've got hills everywhere and thick brush, we do so many inspections over on that side of the world, LA County Fire, that we call resources to come up and help. That's the sheer volume of the inspections we do. And so we're going to have some added volume here in Palmdale now because of these zones. So this is what is being looked for on this sheet, as you can see up there. That's the form that we use when your property is found to be not compliant. So what'll happen around February of '26, if your property is subject to a brush clearance inspection or defensible space inspection, you're gonna get a letter from the county saying that come May or June, fire department's gonna arrive and they're gonna do an inspection. We'll come out and we'll inspect the property. If you pass, you won't hear or see anything from us for a few weeks, you'll get a letter. Fire department was out there, your property passed, you're good to go. If you fail that first inspection, we're gonna leave a door hanger on your front door, and we're gonna put a form like this in the door hanger, and it's gonna highlight exactly what the issues were that our local engine companies observed when they did the brush inspection. You have 30 days to comply with this note when it comes out. If you fail to comply within the 30 days, there's a $1,500 fine that comes with that failure to comply. And then we do another inspection. You have 30 days after the first, you have 30 days after the second. If you fail the first, you get the fine, and you have another 30 days to come into compliance. If you don't come into compliance after that second one, we send the agriculture department to go out and actually do clearing. And there's another fee associated with that because of equipment, manpower, and time. Okay? So this is the form that you will see if you fail the inspection. The recommended LRA hazard severity zone maps must be made available for public review. I can tell you that working with Palmdale very closely for the last few months, they have been available. I know that we've received some comments on the website for the city of Palmdale, and I'm glad that everyone's been out there paying attention because it matters. The recommended local response area fire hazard severity zone, I got that out the first time. They must be adopted by ordinance within 120 days, and we're coming up to that time what we referred to earlier in July, where the city will make the decision whether or not to accept as proposed. And this is a timeline basically covering everything that I've talked to you about. In March, we got the maps. In March and April, me as the fire chief for the Antelope Valley, I started reaching out to my city partners on both sides and talking to them about the maps. And we started building a plan to come and be here with you tonight. May was our time where we really started to hone down and understand what it was gonna look like for us and the work we need to do. July 15th is when the city's gonna have to look at it and officially adopt the ordinance. And then the effective dates of the maps will be 30 days after they've been adopted. Again, you won't see county fire coming out to enforce any of those things until calendar year '26. Okay, I'm gonna pause right here. Okay. Have any of you out there had a chance to go onto the CAL FIRE website and look at the old and new map? And so we're gonna pull that slider bar up for you now. I think it provides a great visual to understand. And I will tell you, understanding how fire moves across the landscape, this looks like a lot, but this is really built on protecting your lives and your home. It really is. What this means for us is when my companies have to respond to a reported grass or brush fire in the Antelope Valley, the expectation for my crews now is they're not gonna have to fight so hard to protect you, your loved ones, and your belongings, because we're building bigger and harder areas around the homes that are protected. And so Micah can kind of slide that back for you, back and forth, but you can see it is a tremendous amount of land that is now being covered. And in essence of saving property and lives, it's my perspective, my personal opinion, it's a good thing. Creates a lot of work for my companies and my crews, but it's a good thing. You good, Micah? Okay. And I think I have one more. There's a QR code if you have your phones, if you don't already have the link to the CAL FIRE website. I will tell you there is a tremendous amount of information on there, and the FAQs that are on there are really good. We've poured over them a couple of times, and I think they're really good FAQs and have a lot of good information. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here tonight. I am always available to you. Fire department's here to serve you. I work for the city, but I serve you. So you ever have any needs, you come find me, and we will, we're here for you, is what I'm trying to say. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce myself again, Vincent Howdegui, Inspector 3, LA County Agriculture Commissioner's Office, Weed Abatement Division. I'd like to go over our program, which covers unimproved vacant parcels. A little bit about the program. The objective is the removal of hazardous vegetation, weeds, brush, and rubbish. It's a joint effort between County Fire and our department. Our focus is on unimproved vacant lots, and County Fire addresses improved parcels with structures. The department also has mutual agreement contracts with certain cities. Examples are Glendale, South Pasadena, Arcadia, Santa Fe Springs. Our legal authority to provide weed abatement clearances comes from the California Health and Safety Code, with buffer zones and guidance regarding distances via the fire code. This is a picture of some of our crew working on a clearance. I'm not sure what city that is. But again, the California Health and Safety Code is what provides us the legal authority to conduct weed abatement activities on vacant parcels. It enables the County Board of Supervisors to declare weeds as a public nuisance. Again, a couple more pictures. What is a public nuisance? Vegetation and rubbish that pose a fire hazard to people, homes, roads that grow on declared parcels. And I'll come back to what we mean by declared parcels. LA County Fire Code allows us to clear up to 100 feet from a structure on some parcels, and in the high fire severity area, up to 200 feet from a structure. That's based on how fire, and these zones are based on how fire will behave and the probability of flames and embers that threaten structures. This is a picture of the map of the high fire severity zone, and this is the same map that was provided earlier regarding the area. Board of Supervisors, early part of the year, they pass a resolution that designates certain parcels as a potential public nuisance. Once they're put on what is now considered the deck list is parcels that are declared by the County Board of Supervisors as a public nuisance. They are sent annual notices, usually around February, informing them of their responsibilities, upcoming referee hearings shortly after they're declared, and establishing certain deadline dates. Every zone is a little different. For instance, my area is the Antelope Valley. I have different deadline dates than Ms. Garcia here that works in a different zone. So every year, not all zones are created equally. So, and then it also provides information on if you would like to get more details about your particular parcel, that you can contact us so that we can provide guidance, direction regarding your upcoming responsibility as far as clearance goes. Currently, there are a little bit more than 30,000 parcels declared throughout the LA County. We shortly thereafter start conducting our inspections on the vacant parcels, providing, again, information, guidance, directions for any property owners that contact us via email, via a phone call. So when the deadline comes, the parcel is subject to clearance, and county crews usually start different areas. We start out here in May 1st. Ms. Garcia has probably different deadline dates. Again, like I mentioned, not all zones are created equal, so we base our deadline dates on workload expectation based on those inspections that were conducted earlier. In March, the Board of Supervisors sends, our department sends a letter regarding the referee hearings that were conducted earlier, right after the deck list was generated, to the Board of Supervisors. And then we seek to enforce the removal of the brush and vegetation that needs to be addressed to bring the parcels into compliance. July, we provide a list to the county assessor's office, auditor controller, I'm sorry, which includes any fees, our annual fee, or any weed abatement charges that we incurred in clearing the properties to be put on the tax roll on the property. The clearance operations vary from zone to zone. They can be from tractor disking, tractor mowing, vendor handwork, county handwork. Again, depending on the needs of every individual zone, that will determine the kind of work that is performed. At this time, I would like to allow my colleague here to give you some more information.
Good evening, everybody. So just continuing the presentation here, this is an example of tumbleweed clearing here in Eastern Hill. I think Inspector Haragi deals a lot with tumbleweed clearing here in this area. Here, let me go. These are examples of our tractor mowing and our disking vendors. We go out, work performed by them. So we go out, we clear some of these parcels. Usually, operations will start in May. And by July, we're pretty much issuing most of our work to handwork and other forms of clearance. So there's an annual fee that declared parcels will receive on their tax bill. And it usually ranges from $45 to $55, an annual charge that you will see assessed on your tax bill. This year, it's $53.14. So if you see anything on there that says weed hazmat, that's usually the fee that you will be receiving if you own any vacant land here in LA County. And what does this fee cover? We use the funds to do our local inspections, determine, maintain properties, notify owners of any nuisance or more work needed that is required on their property. So the department will send thousands of letters out to property owners, letting them know of deadlines or hearing dates that are upcoming. On-site meetings sometimes are requested by vendor parcel owners. And we also investigate any hazard complaint that might come into our office. So if there's any vacant land that's next to your home that is of concern to you, feel free to contact the department. Both my card and Inspector Haragi's card is in the table where all the other pamphlets are displayed. So feel free to take a card and contact us if you have any concerns. We do get some questions regarding the annual fee. A lot of parcel owners that contact our department ask if they can be removed from the program. The only way you can be removed is if you are not within 100 or 200 feet, depending on where the vacant land is located, from a structure. But always feel free to call us. Let us know how to best contact you. That's essential too. Like Mr. Haragi said, every zone is different. We all have different deadlines. We all have different requirements, and it's always a good idea if you own any vacant land to contact your zone inspector and notify them of how to best contact you. This gives you an example of how we go into, or how you would calculate what area of your parcel needs to be cleared if you own any vacant land. Depending on where or what the requirement is for your area, if you are required to clear 200 feet from structures, this is how you would measure out, and this is on the LA County webpage, and I think it's on some of our pamphlets in the back. You can access this tool where you can actually measure out 200 feet would be on your parcel, and then better understand the area that you are required to clear. Also, by contacting us, sometimes we can prepare a map like that of your vacant land and give you a better idea of what is required. So these two examples here are just residential clearances. So basically, we call these 410Bs. This is the last step from the fire department. If they need to clear a structure that has been not cleared, they will contact us, like County Fire just mentioned. Then we will go out and clear the property if after the second notice is issued and no clearance has been done, then we go out and we clear the properties. These are the different zones. So Mr. Haragi covers most of the AV, which is Zone A right at the top. And then zone 9 is covered by another inspector, but you can always feel free to contact me and I can direct you the right way. So these are just examples of some of the clearances. This is a home out in Calabasas. So on the left, you will see the clearance that has been done around the structure, which is 200 feet in that area. And then on the right, that picture shows the view of that home, which was safe after a fire. So this is basically what we hope to achieve when we are requiring you guys to clear for surrounding structures. And then this one here also shows the clearance around the home, again, 200 feet. But in this instance, the fire still affected the structure, and so the home was burnt. But if you can see, there's a lot of vegetation on the left-hand side. There's a lot of vegetation surrounding that structure. So it is also essential that property owners maintain vegetation or, outdoor patio, be aware of all that stuff that can basically burn in a fire as well. Okay, so this is the last slide. Thank you again. If you guys have any questions, like I said, feel free to contact the department. And we're here to help you guys as well. Thank you.
I'd like to end our presentation just by saying, we are here to serve you. So anything that you guys, like Chief Garbani said, we are here to serve you guys. Whatever you guys need from us, information, guidance, instruction, anything, please contact our offices. Again, we're here to serve and make sure that to address any concerns that you guys may have. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, my name is Brian George. I'm the building official for the city of Palmdale. And I'd like to thank Chief Garbani for doing the heavy lifting. He told you about ember transfer and took quite a bit of what I was going to say. So he did me a great favor. But I do want to reiterate that, building and safety, as building officials, we're here to enforce the code and apply the code for, again, safety, fire, life, and safety. The overarching concept, and I would be happy to answer any of your questions. I won't go into specific code details unless you request it. But again, ember transfer. The whole idea is to create structures that resist those embers going into those spots, like Chief Garbani said, those areas where they can take root and cause fire. So the term that's most often used is home hardening. This is the use of ignition-resistant, non-combustible materials being the exterior surfaces of these structures. It includes roofing, roof vents, windows, exterior siding, including open areas such as underneath balconies where you would have exposed wood and so forth. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for coming out, and I'll yield my time to Mario.
All right, I'm next. Good evening again, everyone. Brenda Mganya, Planning Manager. The Planning Division oversees the development of private property. The Planning Division also hosts the Development Advisory Board meetings twice a month. The purpose of this meeting is to involve outside agencies such as LA County Fire early on in the development process. Some of the potential impacts certain development projects may require is to include the need to prepare a field modification plan. It could reduce the development footprints if additional setbacks are required, given the field modification and whatnot, and additional landscaping restrictions depending on what fire zone the property is in. As all of my colleagues here mentioned, we're here to answer any questions, and thank you for coming out and letting us know your concerns, and we appreciate you being here.
All right, I'm super easy. Mario Vallarta, Public Safety Manager, and from a code enforcement perspective, we're status quo. The Public Safety Department will continue to prioritize the health and safety of its constituents and their property. So nothing much changes. We'll continue to enforce overgrown vegetation, and vacant properties, homeless encampments, junk trash debris and so forth. So nothing much changes other than maybe more tighter deadlines with compliance.
Hello again. Amy Shadkamyan. So many of you may be wondering, emergency services, because I get that question a lot. So Emergency Services Division for the city, we are the division that thinks about the what if. So what if the mitigation efforts that we did happens? What if we get those 100-mile winds and something sparks? So our division works closely with all of our partners in understanding kind of the planning component of it and how it changes our plan, local hazard mitigation plans. We prepare city staff, emergency operations center, so we're prepared to respond and assist in recovery. So a part of these fire maps for us, it's really great data. We work with our partners, as I mentioned earlier, for planning purposes. So, of course, tonight I wouldn't be an emergency manager if I didn't talk about preparedness and make sure that I direct you all to some great resources that are available to you in the event if that does occur, if the what if happens. And so just, making a kit, having a plan, practicing the plan, additional training, and of course, alerts, and I'll talk about that. But all of the information you're looking for, a lot of our websites have, or links to county and state websites that gives you a lot of information on how to do these plans and kits. Because believe me when I say it makes a difference. It absolutely does if you know your exit routes, if you have a kit in the car, and if you sign up for emergency alerts. And so again, I'm going to make the pitch for our Alert Palmdale. Information, accurate information, and timely information is really important. And so we encourage our community to please sign up for Alert Palmdale. It's our local emergency information system, notification system, and the QR code will actually take you to the direct link to sign up. And we also encourage everyone to sign up for LA counties also. But if you sign up for Alert Palmdales, you'll also get to sign up for counties, so that's a great bonus. So we encourage everyone to please sign up so we can get that information out to you of what's happening, if it's an incident, a major incident, and so you have that information and can act accordingly. Another great resource, and LA County Fires provided this on the table, some pamphlets to take home, but you can also visit the website and really get familiar with their Ready, Set, Go campaign, and it gives you a lot of great information on defensible spacing, hardening of your home, what steps you can take to prepare, and just gives you a better understanding of the types of alerts you'll be seeing as they come out to get you ready to evacuate if we need to. And our city website also, as you're seeing in front of you, we have a lot of great information. Everything we're talking about is there. Links to how to sign up for Alert Palmdale, how to sign up for county notifications, templates for how to put kits together. So a lot of great resources you can find on our emergency services webpage. So I encourage everyone to visit. And one really important component. How many of you perhaps have heard of our evacuation zones on Genesis? Wonderful. I encourage everyone to please visit the website. You can find the link also on our emergency services website. It will direct you to a Genesis project. We encourage everyone to go on and put your address into the system, and it will actually let you know what zone you are in. Why is this important? Because if we send an alert out, if we're evacuating a specific area, we've identified them in zones. So knowing what zone you're in will help in the evacuation process. So if something is happening impacting your zone and you're evacuating, if you know what zone number you're in, you get the alert, you know your zone's being evacuated with some additional information to it. So understanding your zone is really important. So please visit the website. There's the direct link. And just type in your address and they'll let you know what zone you're in. And contact information if you have any questions about emergency services or emergency management preparedness. There's my information for you guys to reach out. And just like the team says, my position and city staff here, along with what I work with, we're really here to serve you and to make sure we're there for you in the event of something occurring. Thank you.
Can I add something about the event?
Yes, actually, I would really appreciate that. Thank
If
you.
you don't mind, I'm sure you have questions, but there's one thing I did. First, we save lives That's what we're here for. If you don't understand the evacuation zone that you're in, and you don't understand from the alerts when you are actually in an evacuation watch or an order, literally, I have to work with Amy, the city, the sheriff's department, and OEM to get a police car to go to your house and let you know. And we've done it that way for years until the advent of technology really came to help. I can tell you in some recent fires, evacuations coming out on Genesis and Watch Alert were huge because power goes out. Cell phones may or may not be working, but TVs are not working. And so how are people getting the information to evacuate without our sheriffs, our local police? Understanding that there's a fire burning somewhere near your zone and you are now in a warning really sets you up for success to know that any moment now I could get the mandated evacuation order. And the way that Genesis works in unison with us doing our boots on the ground work can really make the difference between saving your life and the life of those that you love. So I can't encourage you enough to go on the active links that Amy's provided, but also understanding the Genesis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now at this time, we're going to give you all an opportunity to come up and ask any questions that you may have. I do have some speaker cards here that we'll start with, and if you need to bring any additional ones up, feel free to do that. We do ask that you please try to keep your questions to under 3 minutes so that everyone gets an opportunity to speak or ask the questions they have. If there's a question you have that's extremely detailed, our staff here and our agencies here will stay after the meeting and can speak to you directly. So I'm going to start with David Harris, and he indicated that he has a question about the fire map and fireworks. So if you'd like to come up here to the podium and ask that question. Thank you.
Important this time of year, every year. The fire map definitely has changed a lot, right? And we do Safe and Sane fireworks here in the city. And I know that's more going to be driven towards city council making decisions, but I was wondering if this body had any thoughts to that as to 2020, summer 2026, 2027, and how that will affect the future of fireworks, safe and sane fireworks, not illegal fireworks, of course. And then also Genesis sent me to Star Trek for a moment. So for you Trekkies out there, you'll get it. Thank you. Oh, that was my question. Is it going to affect fireworks? Anybody?
So there's nothing in the maps that have a direct requirement for fireworks, safe and sane or not.
Okay.
Fire department will follow the city's lead and enforce what they would like to enforce and support. So if the city allows safe and sane, and actually, let me be more specific. For the Antelope Valley, what your fire department does is we bring additional resources up July 4th.
Right.
And if the assistant chief is cheating a little bit, he might hold them until July 5th. And what we do is to increase our footprint, increase our availability to get out there and get ahead of. But for mandating the fireworks stuff, we support the city with whatever decision they have for allowing or not allowing fireworks.
Okay, but you don't think that'd come from state?
I don't know. Right now,
Right.
it does not.
Has anyone heard anything
Haven't-
about that from state? Is
I've
where
not
I was
heard
going.
anything like that from the state.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, I have Lori Brown, and she has a question about building materials considered on the map.
Yes. Number one, my name's Lori Brown. I'm a 40-year resident. I've been here and seen all the fires, which are pretty minimal, except Leona Valley. One thing you're missing, let me back up. I have been a teacher here for 30 years. I've been in LA Sheriff's Department volunteer for 12 years on the Mounted Patrol and also on a search and rescue team. So I also had my homeowner's insurance canceled last year, and it was really a scramble to try to find someone to cover my home. My payment went from $1,500 a year to $4,600 a year. I would like to strongly suggest, and I wish there were more city council people here because we don't need the fireworks. because all that does is it just, it gives the wrong message to the locals. And I live up in the foothills, and I can overlook the whole city. And on the 4th of July, it's incredible. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's scary. So the wrong message is sent. Basically, safe and sane, that's not what's going off in the Antelope Valley. They're letting off things that are, military grade. They're going up in the air, they're ending up all over the place. So if someone on this council could say very strongly that I live in the foothills and I can only represent myself, but there are thousands of people up in the foothills that really don't want fireworks. So if you could do that. I'm a little disappointed with this meeting because you said that the local entity cannot decrease the zones, and that you also, it's based on hazard and not risk. And so my concern is that there's no consideration, like my home has an acre of defensible space. I have not the means to have a front lawn, so it's dirt, and I have horses in the back, and they've eaten everything. So I have an acre of dirt. I also have 4 inches of stucco and 2-inch cement tiles on the roof. I back up to the aqueduct, so I have water behind me. I have the lake in front of me. I have major freeways and roadways, and none of that's considered. And it's kind of disappointing because it would be nice if someone, and I know this is from the state level, but it would be nice if someone would take that into consideration, that we are doing our defensible space. I also have 200 feet of hoses that can be charged in a moment's notice. Usually the fire department uses the area in the aqueduct right behind my house to fill up if they ever have to go anywhere. Or I watch the super scoopers on Palmdale, so that's really nice.
Okay, and we're at 3 minutes, but if you have a direct question, feel free to go ahead and ask
Well,
that.
it's extra assistance on the 4th of July, but because they sell Safe and Sane, the fires are before and after. So maybe we could bump that up and have a little bit more fire protection, because I know they're overwhelmed on the 4th of July. And it would be nice if they would have a task force before that with the sheriff's department and the fire department, and try to catch all these illegal fireworks and these people. I had so many things to say, but like I said, it's disappointing because basically you're just telling us what's going to happen, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. So I'm sorry to hear about that. I was hoping that our input could help make some decisions, but obviously it's coming from the state, and nobody here is going to be able to stop the fireworks. So anyway, thank you for being here anyway. At least there's information. Oh, I did have one question. When you have the Genesis and the electricity does go out, how do you get the notification?
Sometimes when electricity goes out, you're still able to get network on your phone, but what you will have before power goes out is the idea of where the fire started, because what Genesis will let you know is there's a start. Let's say it's 3 zones away from you, you'll have the idea that there's been a start. And usually when we see the power go out, it's when it's like in that zone. So you will have some lead time, generally speaking. In Malibu for the Franklin fire, we had probably about 3 or 4 hours of good cell service to identify our zones before we had a cell problem. And we were able to put out our warnings and our mandated evac orders like pretty quickly. So that's one of the keys to Genesis, is that early notification, being on the alert links or apps that Amy provided, that early notification that there is a start, its zone is related to you in this orientation, and you should be paying attention.
Also, your map needs to have the aqueduct on there.
Okay.
That's a water barrier to it can stop a lot of the wildfires from a lot of the foothills and going into the inhabited areas. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Jason Zink, and he has questions about the fire hazard zone map lines.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having this meeting and letting the community speak. I was born here. My family moved here early 1900, homesteaded here. I know the Antelope Valley very well. My background is development, farming, and construction. I want to talk about the map, what you're doing. This is about safety, but this is really also about money. And what this new map does is you're putting tens of thousands of homes with higher insurance premiums. Why would you do that when there is no risk? On this map here, in this red, this is where the quarries are in Little Rock. There's nothing there but sand and gravel. There's no fire. I have never seen a fire go over the aqueduct in my whole life. Never. So why would you make all the Rancho Vista homeowners pay for fire? You're talking, she just said it, $1,500 to $4,500. You guys weren't looking at the big picture because there is zero risk in those areas I just spoke about. We could also do fire hardening. I'm a farmer. My job was in the pear orchards was to move 20-foot pipe that had rainbirds on them. We could put piping all around Annie Verde, Joshua Ranch homes, and those rainbirds shoot out 100 feet, 50 feet, 50 feet. We could do that and harden all these areas. Don't say we can't make this map smaller and smarter and fair to people. We have a county board of supervisors, Supervisor Barger, who's chair. We have state representatives, and we have the city of Palmdale with the city attorney. And we have the fire department where you can go out, take pictures, and prove that this area is not in a fire zone, a fire hazard area. This is incredibly not thought out right because you're affecting people's pocketbooks. I mean, when she said $4,000, $3,000 more a year, I don't even know how people are surviving now.
Or not.
Or not. Okay, this is the other thing. You guys want to help with fires. The city of Palmdale, there's city trees. There's thousands of them that are dead in vegetation. Why hasn't the city done anything? I don't know. Why hasn't, my grandfather was a captain of the Santa Cruz Fire Department. He'd go around and cite homes with the city, a city letter together, and say, hey, you need to clean this tree up. It's dead. There's vegetation up. There's been none of that in the city of Palmdale. And yet we have fireworks in the city of Palmdale. It's just, I don't understand. This Genesis thing, I've never heard of it. I don't know if you're promoting it or anything. If I don't know about it, then there's something wrong.
Okay, you're at 3 minutes if you'd like to
Okay.
wrap up.
The other thing I want you guys to think about, because I'm glad to see the chief here, is we need an Antelope Valley Conservancy and California Conservation Job Corps where young people can go in and do all this fire stuff for free, get employed by the state, and also get a scholarship. It's a win-win-win. So I would like to use your influence to make that happen. But we have to change these maps. They are wrong. I'm also worried, not just about fire, but the aqueduct breaking. Right up where Una Lake is, that's the San Andreas Fault. If that thing ruptures, Palmdale's gonna get flooded and people are gonna die. I'm more worried about that. I'm more worried about that than I am with fires. But I hope I gave you guys something to chew on. This amendment thing, you need to have a map to show all the parcels. When you can go onto a map and see each parcel that has this fee on it, so we can look at it. I know all about this stuff. You guys are overcharging people way too much money to clean up a little bit of trash and a little bit of tumbleweeds. The people have gotten bills for $800 and they keep getting that $60 thing. That's not right to do that to somebody. So I'll work with you guys and I'll show you this. I mean, might as well use my knowledge, right? And I really want to do things right, but I want people to be treated fairly. So thank you for your time.
To kind of piggyback on him, I've been writing in the foothills for 40 years, and the pictures that you have in your report, none of them are from the Antelope Valley. You've got areas where there's huge amounts of brush. We just have grass and very few brush and very few, anything everything is gonna burn fast and quick and that's it. So, like he said, the risk you're using completely different areas than the Antelope Valley. Most of it's just dry dirt. It's dirt. And, is there a way that they could have a hotline, so somebody could call in and say, you know, my neighbor hasn't cleared their parcel, and we would like to have that cleared, or there's a huge dead tree somewhere? Can a hotline be set up somewhere so that we can contact somebody and try to help you guys out?
I'm sure we could look and talk to the city about a hotline, but right now, if you go to your local fire station, if there's a problem with a parcel adjacent to you, start with your local fire station. Go talk to the firefighters.
Somebody put a fence up along, there's no easement, they put a fence straight to the street.
I can't do anything about the fence, ma'am, but what I can do is
But the fire department, you're supposed to have an easement so that the emergency vehicles can get into our area. And I went to my local fire station and they're like, you can't do anything about that. But you can't get into my area because somebody's put their fence line right up to the pavement. There's no swing space, there's no room for big trucks, hook and ladders.
Right.
Nothing.
Can she give you her address and you look into it?
Well, if I had a hotline, I should.
Excuse me, but is there a point of order in here, or can we just talk anytime we want?
Yeah, no, we need to go to the next
Okay,
speaker,
sorry.
please. Thank you. All right, so our next speaker is Christina, and she has a question about windows, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, this is going to be really quick. So I just have a really quick question. After Eden Fire, I have heard that they were recommending triple pane windows. Is that still a thing for, in this case?
Recommendations are just those. The actual requirement would be, a minimum requirement would be a single pane, single tempered window. That comes right out of chapter 7 of the building code, 7A, which talks about the roofing materials. There are certain listings, those are those numbers that are on these things that we all look at and don't know what they mean. These listings are how these assemblies are tested. And I have information, if you'd like it, I have some information I can give you for those listings. But as of right now, triple pane is maybe a suggestion from somebody, but it is not a mandatory feature or even a minimum requirement in a fire zone.
Not
Does
a
that-
minimum. Okay. Okay, yeah, I would be more than happy to take whatever information you have.
Yeah, I can show you the section.
Apparently, I am in a red zone. So yes, I would be more than happy to take that information from you.
See me after the meeting,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Susan, who has a question about patios and what material is recommended underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Also really fast. I just want to know what materials you recommend for patio covers.
So currently, what we have here in the city of Palmdale is a standard handout. That standard handout has information on it, and again, I have that, if you'd like it.
Yeah.
The long and the short of it is, in our standard handout now, we have a detail for areas that are not in a fire hazard severity zone, and we have one that is. The difference between it is the thickness of the lumber, okay? Not to go into deep details here, but as wood burns, obviously it gets weaker, and there's a certain calculation that structural engineers will do that a certain size piece of timber can burn at a certain rate and be infiltrated and still remain structurally sound. So as our standard handout goes, it's the thickness of the lumber that is used.
Not what's on top.
That is also in our standard handout.
Okay.
In the building code, when it comes to fire hazard severity zones, one of the things you can do is follow the increased timber thickness. The other thing is, obviously, like we talked about, the fire or ignition resistant materials, which would be something like stucco, right? You would stucco the underside, you would stucco the columns. You could use things like, the generic term is like the cement hardy board type stuff, it's a cementitious material. The ignition resistance is high. So there are other materials that you can use. And again, I have that information, and I'd be happy to share it with you.
Okay, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I do not have any other speaker cards, but I know we have some attendees filling some out. At this time, if there's any open questions that maybe weren't answered that any of you want to tackle.
No, I'd like to, ma'am, you were asking for a hotline. If you're in the city of Palmdale area, you can report easement, encroachment concerns, overgrown vegetation to our code enforcement department or division at 661-267-5234, or you can do it via the My Palmdale app, which is best way to report it because you can pinpoint the location and attach photos.
And that's just the Palmdale website?
Yeah, you can do the City of Palmdale website, code enforcement, or public safety, or through the My Palmdale app.
Thank you.
I'd also like to offer my business card if you have any concerns regarding any vacant lots, hazard concerns. I will provide the card after the meeting if you'd like.
I don't have any in my neighborhood because we're all well aware of, but thank you, I will take your card.
Thank you.
I just see a lot of them when I'm driving around. I'm like, wow, they have big weeds. We're not allowed to have any weeds.
Any concerns, I'd be happy to
Okay, thank you.
discuss.
For the building, I mean, since this is changing, maybe they should go to metal patios, patio covers. Metal doesn't burn. All my outbuildings are metal. So even if I do have a fire come through, I'm not gonna lose any of my buildings or contribute to the fire. So maybe with this, you might wanna go back and change that from lumber to, metal casings, metal roofing, as much metal as possible, it doesn't burn.
Yeah, on a related but somewhat separate note, we have the building code update coming as of January 1, and I was actually in my office talking to my staff about updating the standard plan in its entirety. It's been a while, but to your point, yes, metal patios, any sort of, like I said, stucco, cementitious material, there are still a variety of ways to accomplish what I feel is still an aesthetically pleasing patio cover. And again, there's a variety of ways to still do that and meet the requirements. So yes, we'll be updated.
Are you considering having, the ventilation in the homes, for the newer homes that are being built switched? Because I know in the Pacific Palisades, there were several homes that survived, and that was the main reason, is that they had a different setup. They didn't have all the ventilation where the embers could go in to the attic.
Correct, and that is part of the Chapter 7A, which, again, the roof, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but the roofing requirements are if there is any gap between the roofing material and the sheathing, that is the plywood substrate, that needs to be sealed off, and/or it needs to be, have a increased underlayment, an increased thickness underlayment. So to that point, and one of the other things is, as you mentioned, the vents, the mesh size, that is the screen that's inside there, there's a maximum, I believe it's eighth inch in those areas, whereas to other places you could go somewhere like 3/16 or a 1/4 inch. So those are things that are taken into consideration. And yes, I did see a news story about homes that seemingly were unaffected, and I did notice that they were built to a different standard. Again, the building code is a minimum requirement for safety, fire life safety. So we, as code officials, we cannot mandate that you go further than that. unless there are extenuating circumstances such as a fire zone. But then again, that is also in the code as a minimum. So we do our very best to make sure that we enforce the minimum code requirements, because again, there are 10 different ways to build something, right? And we don't want to impose our opinions or what we think to someone's project. So again, those are minimum code requirements, but yes, those are things that are taken into consideration.
I'm going to stop you for just one moment. I do have someone that filled out a card. Rebecca has a question about clearance for the very high-risk area.
Yes, hi, thank you. My name's Rebecca Egan. I'm a resident here in Palmdale, West Palmdale. We're specifically in the Marquis Estate, which is in West Palmdale. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. We back up to Amargosa Creek, the new park that the city of Palmdale has created. And so I have a few questions regarding specifically that. So we are now very high risk, along with Rancho Vista, which runs along that entire ridgeline of the mountains there. And so just as a general question, when we drive into Marquis Estates, so my neighborhood, a small neighborhood, are we going to expect to see every house be, as if we're in Phoenix, say? It should all be zero-scaped. And that would be by next year, I'm assuming. Is that the level of brush? So our insurance has already sent us a letter with a house on it and perimeters, and there's 3 feet from the bottom and 5 feet around and 10 feet for the shed, and we don't know, can we keep the shed, can we keep the lattice cover for the, it's a little unclear. We've called them, they aren't sure. So here we are, unsure how much of the tens of thousands of dollars we're going to have to put into our property, without any guarantee, of course, that the insurance will carry us. Probably they won't. I'm assuming most of us will be on the state plan this time next year. So that being said, if you guys could let us know what what would be the game plan? What are we looking at? Nothing growing, no shed, no outbuildings, no plants at all. What are we going for here?
So the fire department's not going to dictate whether or not you could have a shed.
Okay.
Or something like that. That's actually a building and safety code ordinance thing. So the fire department as a whole doesn't have an answer for doesn't have an opinion on that. As far as landscaping, right now the code is they're allowed to have certain stuff. We don't want vines on structures, for example. So wisteria growing on the structure itself. If it's on a wall or something like that that's not attached to the structure, then that would be okay. But there is nothing to say that we have to go to zero-scape at this point in time.
Okay, regardless that the insurance seems to want that.
Insurance
Is
and
totally
fire.
separate.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, because
Yeah,
that seems to be what they're calling for. Okay,
Yeah, it doesn't surprise
As
me.
a-
I've heard that a lot.
Heard that a-
But yeah,
right.
that's not what the fire code requires.
I see, okay, at this time.
Yes.
Okay, and so this is a completely separate question specific to us, which is behind us, and I've reached out to weed abatement, and they didn't know the answer, and the problem is Amargosa Creek, and it all runs up to the aqueduct. Part of it's city of Lancaster, part of it's county. We can't seem to get clear on who is in charge of that area, but every year they send out, about twice a year, they'll send out folks in full hazmat, and they spray the area. And what they're doing is they're killing bushes and they're creating. A couple of years ago, they actually came with a bulldozer and they bulldozed some behind there. Unfortunately, they don't come back to clean the dead brush. So what we have is a hillside and behind us with all dead brush. And so I'm wondering if that is really making the most sense, honestly, to leave piles of dead brush behind all of those areas. Secondarily, when they spray along that hillside, you can see the grade is pretty steep. And so what we're seeing is runoff. We had 2 of our neighbors have their entire properties flooded because of the mud that runs down. And so because of the mountain and the way that the topography is, it's really, it's kind of not a cut and dry situation to where to spray and where not to. These fellas, I've spoken to them, they said, look, we're spraying 10 feet from the fence line, that's all we're doing. And they don't seem to, and I can't seem to get a clear answer on that. It doesn't seem to make much feasible sense. 10 feet from the property line doesn't seem to do much for us, which is another second question, is that I'm wondering if we are allowed as residents to go out and clear some of these things that we see. Because I do see things behind my house, because it's an open area, that are huge concerns, and I cannot get an answer from any department, and everybody points me in a different direction. It's city, it's county, it's weed, it's state, it's, and so we've taken it upon ourselves, we would like to take it upon ourselves to clear some areas ourselves. And how does the city feel about that? So, two questions there.
Yeah, so I'd be more than happy to look into who the property owner is behind your, and I think I have your contact information.
It's city or county. It's all,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I agree. Just spraying and leaving, piles of dead bush, I'm sure that's not acceptable, per the municipal code and
Right.
most likely fire code. With regards to clearing, someone's property, I'm gonna give you the unofficial answer, right? I'm sure there's no property owner that's gonna say, don't clear my bushes, it's because it's their responsibility ultimately. So you can do that, right, to protect your property. I'm gonna tell you a quick little story. When I first started with code enforcement, I was an officer and I thought I was cute. I sent a notice to the state, letting them know to trim their weeds. They responded with that's cute, but we're the state. But we're gonna give you this form here and you can give it to the resident who, we're giving them permission to step on state land and clear 15 to 20 feet of brush from, basically behind their property. So we do have those forms available from the state if that is indeed a property that belongs to the state. But I can definitely look into see who it belongs to and see how we can help.
Okay.
I would also like to allow the opportunity to discuss your concerns.
Sure.
If they're spraying, that might be a separate division from our department, pest management, because the weed abatement division does not spray. So I can discuss that with you further, get details about the area that you're talking about,
Sure.
and provide any answers to some of the questions you may have. I'll
Okay.
give you my card if you don't mind at the end
Sure.
of the meeting.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something here? Before you go onto anybody's property, you need to know who's the owner of that property, because, the indication was that you can go on there and clear it if it's endangering your property. That's not necessarily true. I'm a retired law enforcement officer, and you really need to know who's the owner of that property and get their permission before you do that. I'm sure most people would agree that that's a good thing to do, but not all people would. I would not like to see you get in trouble and have sheriff's deputies called because you decided that you were gonna go do this on your own.
City or county land.
Or
This
state,
is
might
all
be
open.
state
I know that it is.
It
because
could be
it's a
the
city
state
park.
aqueduct too.
Yeah,
It's a city park. Nobody owns
Oh.
it other than the
Yeah.
city or the state or the county. And it's unclear amongst the city and the state and the county which one of them owns it, so.
I just want to bring up these fire events, because my friend, they were hired to put all these fire-resistant vents on all the new homes down in LA in order to get insurance. So this might be something that the city of Palmdale might think about. But now, you're requiring tens of thousands of homes in the city of Palmdale to put these fire vents in, which costs thousands of dollars. So it's just like you guys just didn't think this through. And why can't she find the answer to this? It's city of Palmdale. This is supposed to be a hometown city. She should be able to find that answer out right away. Boom. And that's what I'm saying. This city is not public friendly, in my opinion. She should be able to go to anybody and say, oh yeah, this is what you do. I don't get this. This city is so messed up. It really is. Lack of common sense, management, everything, from all the dead trees and everything. It's like, I don't know how all these people get paid all this money, and it's just so disorganized, so chaotic. But I'm just saying, we're gonna have to do something about getting this map shrunk, because this was so wrong, what happened. And the city of Palmdale knew about it, and they should have been there for the homeowners.
Okay, so I think there's some answers to some of the questions he asked. Did you want to respond?
I do want to make sure that it's clear that code requirements aren't necessarily retroactive. Okay, so you asked about outbuildings and things that may be on a property. If something was installed or built in a compliant manner, meaning it had the proper permits, approvals, et cetera, at the time that it was built, I kind of want to make sure that we don't think that we're all having to go back and rebuild our homes. That's not necessarily the case. Like I said, it's developing as far as what the new code requirements are going to be. The state will give them to our code officials July 1st. We will have 180 days to review them and make amendments. But I do want to put a fine point on that, if something was installed and built in a code compliant manner, as far as the code requirement goes, it's in compliance. I cannot speak to insurance rates. Maybe I'm sharing too much, but I live in a rural area and I was denied homeowners insurance on both my properties after I spent considerable amount of money mowing and grading 5 acres. And I now have state fund, which is one policy, and I had to go get a separate policy for all of my other umbrella coverage. So I completely understand. Believe me, I've written the checks.
If you make this more fire safe in the future, then hopefully future homeowners might not have to pay as much insurance, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This map is what makes our fire insurance go up. Our
But the
homeowners
map-
insurance, this whole map.
The map is the state's. I don't
I know
believe the map is the city's. The map was done by the state.
I know that.
So you need to be talking to the state, not to these
Yeah, but the
folks
city
here.
of Palmdale gave input to the state.
And
I'm
they're,
sure they have
and
a lot of
then in
influence on the
July,
state.
they're
No.
going to
Or
agree
you
to
guys-
this.
Well, you
No.
guys didn't attend the state workshops that are available, and that means our local politicians didn't tell you about it. That's the problem. Antelope Valley never goes to these state workshops, and that's why we always get the short end of the stick. And this is, I can't believe how much money this is gonna cost.
But the city's gonna rubber stamp this map in July. That's what they said. The city can rubber stamp this map, and they probably will, because they haven't paid, they're not even here to hear us. So, that's the problem, is all this stuff comes from the top down, and it never comes from the bottom up. And there are people that could give really good input and help
That
out.
red right there where Amargosa Wash is, that's all houses now. There's no desert there to burn. And it's all those big flood things, the recharging water basins. There's no fire. There's no fire there. Never will be.
Back to the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I've
So-
never even seen a big fire, except Leona Valley. There's only just random.
Well, we had the Crown
brush
Fire.
fires, usually around the
Back
4th
in
of
in
July,
Cooperville.
and that's it.
There's a lot of fire data throughout the Antelope Valley, but I'm gonna go specifically to your point, back to our PowerPoint, or the fire department PowerPoint. What I'd like to say to you, first of all, sir, respectfully understand your frustration. There was no workshop. This came from the state fire marshal, and there's a slide, I think I have the clicker. And we talked about what they take into account. As they look at the state, they look at topography, they look at fuels, they look at the weather. All of those things go into how they factored the map. They didn't ask any of the cities for input. As far as I know, Lon, they didn't come to LA County Fire Department and ask for our opinion or offer us a workshop. They told us that these are what the new LRA, local responsibility area in the city of Palmdale proper, SRA, state responsibility land that resides within the footprint of Palmdale. And this is the way that the state views the hazard that exists based on weather, fuel, burn history, and that 30 to 50 years of data. So there was no workshop for us to go to, sir. Okay.
I find that hard to believe because I know how the state works.
Okay.
And there are state workshops and to get public information, but most of the time, nobody ever shows up. But the thing is, that's a good reason for a lawsuit for the city of Palmdale and LA County to fight back on this. Because there's no reason to make people come up with all this money and make 3 times more for fire insurance when there's no risk at all. We need to fight back on this. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I really do. But this is wrong, what's happening. And we have to do something. We just can't sit back because you're being affected. Everybody's gonna be affected insurance companies, state politicians who get paid by the insurance. It's just a racket is what this is all about. This isn't going to make anything safer. At the end of the day, this will not make anybody safer. It won't.
Basically, we're paying for the Paradise and the Palisades fires. Fire insurance has just, and when I first was declined for homeowners insurance, I investigated this, and the map is decided by who? The insurance companies. They have more input. The insurance companies made the map, and we pay more so that we can pay for all the fires, the huge fires that have happened that don't even happen here. All you have to do is drive up into the foothills, drive around. There's hardly any
Okay.
hazardous material. It's
So,
dirt.
Arpin, we have a statement from the insurance commissioner that directly talks to, yeah, if you want to go ahead and read that
May I?
statement.
I'm sorry. Same as Brian, you know, we all in some way have been affected even personally on this. And I have to say that even talking to colleagues and talking, they always say, you know, go to your insurance company because your insurance company is going to be the one that's going to be the defining of how they're going to set it. But as I mentioned earlier, Ricardo Lara, who's our insurance commissioner, has put out the Q&A, and there's a lot of great information in here that covers how these maps benefit the public. They go into the maps and insurance and the availability of it, but also there's a contact number there. So I do recommend everyone reaching out to that number to be able to ask the direct questions, because just as you guys are, there's some questions we all have too. It's not that we were given this information and we know everything. Personally, like I said, even our home, we have to try to figure out what the insurance company is going to set, because ultimately I got told too, it goes back to your insurance company. But the information is there. So I do recommend everyone reaching out, because I think if more of us do reach out and ask the questions, they need to put out more information of what this means, right? So you can find that information in the back and just the 1-800 number. And I suggest everybody calling, because we're asking the same questions.
Well, all the major insurance companies left California, so what's left is what you get. And they're bumping everything up 400, 500, 600 times. So
You know, unfortunately, and I understand where you're coming from.
someone tell the city of Palmdale not to rubber stamp this map in July when they say, you know, we're gonna approve this map. They say, you know what, we don't think it really reflects equally what should be reflected.
I could just say, I think for all of us, we will present the facts as we have it to our council, and ultimately, you know, they will make the decision that they feel best, but we can only provide the factual evidence and what we know of what the state's put out, what fire, EM, what building and safety, what planning is saying is what we're getting, the facts. So ultimately, it's gonna come down to what our city council sees fit, so.
Okay, does anyone have any further questions? All right, well, then we would like to thank you all for coming out. If you want to touch base with anybody up here on the panel personally, please feel free to do that after the meeting. And again, we thank you for attending. I don't know if anyone else has any last minute statements. Okay, well, thank you again.